I am here with the one and only Bob Zhao of WashU ACF Go Bears. And Bob, you did some transition interviews already. Is that correct?
I did.
All right, wonderful. First, tell me a little bit about who did you interview? Which student did you interview?
So the interview I had this past week was with one of our seniors, obviously. His name is Byung. So he was someone I discipled my sophomore year, his freshman year, and then also has served in our core team for a little bit. So he and I, yeah, met this past week to chat transition interviews.
Okay, great. How did it go from your vantage point? Well, how did that go?
Yeah, I was telling Adam a little while ago that it was actually a little bit more fun than I thought it was going to be. So we kind of just met in a pretty central place on campus. Did not get a chance to buy something for him, but I might backfill that at some point. Planning on buying boba for my seniors moving forward. But yeah, we just met and chatted. I think it was really cool to reminisce about how far he's come, especially since I know him pretty well. And a really cool part was I was able to kind of reflect on the ways in which other people have told me he has impacted them. That maybe he hasn't heard directly from the people that talked to me about his impact, but was able to name a couple of things and affirm some of the ways he's impacted ACF in a very rewarding way for me. But then also he was commenting on how it was nice to hear those things as well, because sometimes you're celebrated behind your back and you don't get a chance to hear how you impact other people. So it was cool to be able to share that with him.
Yeah, that's great. I love hearing that. Now you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but like, how did he respond to the transition interview?
Yeah, very positively. He mentioned to me that it was fun after our time was up together. Um, and yeah, like I mentioned, I think sometimes in the shuffle of life and campus ministry things, you don't stop to celebrate people. A lot of the podcasts I've been listening to lately have been MBA podcasts, and they talk always about giving people their flowers.
Mm.
And so it was cool to see to be able to give one of my seniors his flowers, especially because he's not someone who's particularly loud or out there. But people like that need celebrating as well. And so it was really great to do that, and he seemed to receive it well. So.
That's great. That's great. Now I understand that you also, in the midst of the transition interview, you also did the gaps ask.
I
Is
did.
that right?
Yes,
Okay,
I
so
did.
tell me a little bit about like how was that? Was that awkward? Did that go well? Like, what was that gaps ask portion of things like for you?
Yeah, so part of the reason why I did it with this particular student first is because I knew him pretty well. So I knew he was going to forgive me if I uh, did things a little bit awkwardly and that sort of thing. So was a little bit strategic in kind of who I picked and trying to practice a little bit before I went on with other students that maybe I don't know as well. But he responded pretty positively. I think he and I have chatted about MPD and what we do. And I know you've talked to him as well. And so at some level, he knows that you have a job that is related to MPD. And so it was helpful that he was coming in a little bit with that context. And yeah, I talked to him about the fact that, you know, MPD is something that you engage with as your circumstances allow, and money isn't the only way to do that. And so being able to talk about other ways in addition to just, the financial aspect was very helpful. He's going to grad school next year, and so is not going to be earning oodles of money, at least in the short term. But it was very helpful for him to know that there were other ways he could stay involved. And so yeah, I think the combination of the fact that I had a personal relationship and we had just talked about the ways he's impacted ACF helped make that bridge a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's great. I love that idea of like, hey, partnership doesn't just have to look like giving. And so when you do a gaps ask, there are actually all these other ways that people can partner so they can say yes to something and be part of the mission that's happening, even if it's not giving, and to like expand people's vision of what partnership could be. So great job. That's great. As we have our other staff brothers and sisters who are starting to do their own transition interviews, any words of advice, any words of encouragement, anything you learned that you think will be a good little tidbit or nugget for people to hold on to as they start that process with their departing students?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just like look forward to them. I am looking forward to the rest of the ones that I get to do now. And Yeah, I didn't quite do this in the first session, but then I'm planning to on the next ones. Make a little bit of an event out of it. It is something that you get to celebrate with your
Mm,
seniors in, and so I think they recommend you bring a gift or do it over something a little bit more special. And so hopefully I will be able to do that coming forward. I actually am going to a GAPS Ask right after this conversation, and so plan on doing that. And so those are the two things in preparation. And then during yeah, just like kind of go where the Holy Spirit leads you, like use it as an opportunity to celebrate people and inform people. And I think there's also some advice around using it as a pastoral moment in the case that people are still a little bit anxious about heading into the next phase of life.
mhm.
And so yeah, it's just like a really great opportunity to connect with your seniors in kind of one last touchstone. Not to say that you can't, continue connecting them with them
Of course.
afterwards. But yeah, I would just recommend you use it and view it as an opportunity. Prepare well, and then once you're there, just kind of have fun with it.
Yeah, I love that. Like, make it fun, look forward to it, make it an event, follow the Holy Spirit, make it something that's going to be memorable, not just something that you got to do in order to get the job done. I love that. So great job, Bob. Thank you so much for sharing with the region your experiences, and have fun on the ask that you're about to do, or the transition interview that you're about to do.
Yes, I will. I will.
All right. Thanks, Bob.